Elsewhere, Nigeria's election management body, the Independent National Electoral Commission, has rejected a petition for the recall of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, saying it did not meet the requirement of a section of the Constitution. Now, the Commission also said that a petition for the recall of a senator must comply with the provision of the Constitution, which requires the signatures of more than half of the registered voters in the affected constituency. According to INEC, the total number of registered voters in Kogi Central Senatorial District is 474,554. That's more than one half of the figure, which is 237,278 voters. It also claims to have ascertained 208,132 signatures from across 902 polling units from the submission made by the petitioners. This translates 43.86% of the registered voters, which falls short by 29,146 signatories of the constitutional requirement in this case. Now, for a bit more dissection on this, we are now being joined by lawyer and public affairs analyst Maxwell Opara. Good to have you with us on Newsday. Now, you've heard the statistics, Maxwell. What do you think, or why do you think the recall bid by a section of Uduaghan Akpoti's constituency failed in the true context, and of course from your perspective, from a legal point of view?
Well, thank you for having me, Lily and Awa. It's my pleasure to be here once again. Well, the Constitution established the procedure upon which a recall process can be initiated. And the INEC, that is the institution in charge of recall process, received a petition. So after going through the petition in line with the law, they discovered that the petition did not meet up with the threshold upon which one can submit the petition. So, and it was rejected. So, and that's it. So there is nothing one can do about it, because it goes a long way of establishing the fact that the recall process must follow due process.
And Maxwell, what are some of the key lessons that everyone, I guess, since we're all expert lawyers now concerning all of these situations that are happening in the news, but what are some of the key lessons that could be learned regarding the proper legal requirements that are needed for initiating and executing a successful recall process in Nigeria, particularly in relations to the burden of proof and verification of signatures?
By this decision, INEC has been able to establish the fact that recall process must not be compromised by irregularities. That one is one. Two, it has also gone a long way of emphasizing the fact that there is no shortcut. You must follow the due process, adherence to the procedure established by the law. Three, it has also gone a long way of establishing that INEC integrity and credibility in following the due process. Because you see, if you watch what is happening in Nigeria, almost everybody, 80%, if not 90% of Nigeria, has lost confidence in all establishment in Nigeria, vis-a-vis INEC in conducting election, INEC in being independent, INEC in doing something that is fair. Then also in National Assembly following the due process, just like when the president declared a state of emergency. So we are all hoping that National Assembly can do something. National Assembly can do something, ensure that the president follow the due process of the law. But everybody say, forget about National Assembly. Before we could know it, before we said Jack Robinson, National Assembly through voice votes so supported what the president did. Now this particular issue, people lost confidence in INEC, but by taking this decision, now the INEC has been able to establish their integrity, their credibility, and their independence. So that is a lesson we can learn from the decision of INEC.
Very good, Maxwell. From a legal point of view, if the reasons for the failed recall bid are addressed eventually, can the constituent attempt another recall bid, you think? Yes,
it can be. They can reinitiate the process. Because one, if all those discrepancies has been addressed to, if they have addressed it, they can reapply. Because the Constitution did not say that you will not reapply. You will reapply if you have gone through the reasons for rejecting your application, put all your house in order, reapply. Then if you meet up the distance, because the essence of recalling is to allow the constituency to monitor their representative, to have a control over their representative. So the question there is that, will you meet up the threshold? If you meet up the threshold and you come back, you will be recalled. But I doubt whether they will meet up with that threshold from what I'm observing as a person.
Right. Well, in your opinion and what you've observed during this whole debacle, what role, if any, did public perception and or media coverage play in shaping the legal arguments and the eventual outcome of this recall process?
Well, as a Nigerian who is living in Nigeria, if you should ask me, just like as I said, the Nigerians, the masses, has lost confidence in government establishment, all government establishment. So, but going by what happened, it has gone a long way of at least building hope. Now, going by public opinion, I doubt whether that recall process will have effect, considering what I witnessed a few days ago at Kogi Central Senatorial District when Natasha visited that area. That crowd was massive. To me, that crowd was organic. It was not a rented crowd. So I doubt whether they will meet up with that publicly, going by what I'm seeing. So secondly, I doubt whether those people will also meet up with because the condition, the procedure is very cumbersome, going polling booth by polling booth, calling out people to come and, in fact, to call out people to come and vote in Nigeria is a very difficult something, not to talk about calling out people to come and vote to recall their senator. So that is the public view about it. That's my personal view and opinion.
Very good, Maxwell. Now, how practical or feasible is the option for recalling a legislative representative in Nigeria? Shouldn't Nigerians have a say if they're not contented with their representative in the House? You know, we've seen scenarios in the past, very few scenarios now, where, you know, there have been recalls, but they haven't been successful. So can you walk us through, you know, the prospect of having a successful one, you know, in light of issues, legitimate issues that are being put forward for the recall to come in the first place?
That is what I'm saying. The recall is one of the democratic process upon which the electorate can have control over their senator, their representative. Now, the question there is that the Constitution has established the procedure upon which to do that. Now, can that procedure be met? Now, if you should ask me, there is every need for us to, for the National Assembly to look at the Constitution and call for amendment of that procedure. Going by this particular procedure is going to be a very difficult one. If you are going to say that the recall process will be for delegates, either by local government representative or by community representative, if they can come up to represent a particular community, a particular section of people to represent a particular community. But if you are not calling on all those people that voted, some of them they have lost their voters card, some have relocated, calling them, verifying them to meet up with that particular threshold is a very difficult, a very rigid procedure, which I don't think that we can, if we can meet up with it, except we amend the legal framework of the Constitution so as to make it flexible. But going by our present law, no recall process can. Just like when you are asking that the president should be impeached, it's a very difficult procedure, considering the political position involved. Because as you are mobilizing people to come out, Senator Natasha Akpoti will also mobilizing people not to come out. So, and I believe when you can easily get people to mobilize people not to come out than to mobilize people to come out.
Right.
So that is the rigid procedure.
And still staying on the procedure, did this failed recall process highlight any of the ambiguities or shortcomings that exist within our electoral laws, and what potential reforms, in your opinion, do you think might be necessary?
Pardon? Come again, please.
I was talking about the procedures with the failed recall bid. Does it highlight any of the ambiguities or any of the shortcomings or gaps within our existing electoral laws? What potential reforms might be necessary to undertake?
The issue of getting the signature of those that elected the senator, the issue of getting their numbers, the issue of getting their passports is a very rigorous procedure. Remember that where you did not meet up that particular requirement, it will not flow. Now, when will you go to how many wards we have in Kogi Central Senatorial Zone? Go around the entire polling booths, get the people involved, call them out, verify their signatures and their phone numbers. I doubt whether that one will be possible. So if those ones can be, all those procedure can be removed, then you can now talk about or possibly if you can apply technology into it. But calling our people in the polling booth to come and verify, it will never happen in Nigeria. Take it to bank, it will never happen. Especially this period, people are angry with the entire system. Nobody will come out. I may be wrong, but that is my position.
And of course, Maxwell, any form of amendment will still need to be done by the legislatures themselves. And of course, I'm looking at a scenario whereby that would be, uncertain in that regard. So you talked about the cumbersome nature of this. So is this giving us the illusion now that the House members, representatives are untouchables? And if there are need to checkmate the excesses, should they arise, they are very confident that in terms of recall, it might not even happen.
It's just like recall process is just like proving irregularities in election petition. If you watch the precedent established by Supreme Court in various election petitions, you discover that to prove irregularity in election petition is a very difficult one. That one is one. Then also to amend the Constitution is also a very difficult one. I'm just mentioning all these processes. To impeach the president is a very difficult one. To even impeach the Senate president or the speaker is a very difficult one. So these are the established, I don't know the draftsmen of the Constitution, whether they intentionally put all this procedure here. They said two-thirds majority, you get this one, you get. It's a very difficult, just like where you said there is irregularity. The person who alleged must call all those polling agents one after the other to come and prove to court. You can see what the tribunal said a couple of days ago in respect of Edo State Election Petition Tribunal. So the point I'm trying to make is that this is not the only rigorous procedure we have in our electoral law, making things very, very difficult. The electorate has no control over those they purportedly elected, in quotes, purportedly elected. They have no control. Recalling them, impeaching them, protesting even. To protest in Nigeria now is a very difficult one. They'll ask you to go and get approval from the police, even when the court say that it is wrong. So the electorate have no control. That's the reason why you see every politician, you do everything humanly possible to enter there and allow the person to go to court and allow the person to do whatever thing. Since so far that the INEC has declared a winner. So we don't have control over the people that we elected. The electorate have no control. That is the position. That is the naked truth.
Well, okay. Speaking of Senator Natasha, based on your analysis of the entire situation. What are some of the likely legal avenues that the senator's political opponents might pursue next?
My dear sister, I don't know. You see, anything can happen in Nigeria. You see, Natasha, the law said you cannot suspend more than 2 weeks. But he was suspended more than 2 weeks. It's on 6 months suspension. So maybe after that 6 months, they may resume. They suspended him again another 6 months. So I don't know what you want me to say. So in Nigeria, a lot of things can happen. Where somebody, you can see what is happening in Bayelsa. Now the sole administrator is saying that he's going to revisit or renew 2025 budget to be presented to who? Is this the suspended House of Assembly? So anything that does not happen in Nigeria, cannot happen in Nigeria, does not exist. So I don't know how anything can happen anyway. So after that 6 months, the opponent can look for another means under the Constitution and they do anything they like. So that is the position.
Very good. We've been speaking with Maxwell Opara, a lawyer, and he's been talking about lessons from the Senator Natasha Uduaghan Botti's field recall bid and, of course, narratives surrounding that issue. It's good to have you with us.